The biggest mindset change that I would like to see is I would like to see new cyclists actually seek out information about the best ways to ride rather than just assume that they know from their childhood what to do. Because most people really don't. In fact, a lot of times they do the opposite thing, hence the reason we have so many wrong way crashes. Approaching bicycling the same way you would approach anything else, like riding a motorcycle, you should go find out what the best practices are, what the safest way to operate is, because most people don't know. It's not something that's a part of our culture. The two most common things that people do are, one, they try to stay out of the way. They try to be as unobtrusive as possible by either riding on the sidewalk or hugging the edge of the road. But the problem with being unobtrusive is that you're also irrelevant. And so riding on the edge of the road, they make themselves irrelevant to motorists, and they send motorists a message that it's okay to squeeze past them really close because they're leaving too much space in the lane. And so that's a very common problem. Another equally problematic thing that bicyclists do is they don't communicate with anybody. They don't let motorists know what they want to do. They just kind of ride with their head down, and I guess it's part of that unobtrusive thing. But if you communicate with motorists, they will try to help you do what you want to do. If you need to make a lane change and you turn around and look at that motorist and signal your intentions, you're going to see them immediately back off and let you make that lane change, because they're people, they're your neighbors. And so by not communicating with people, you're not giving them the opportunity to respond to you in the way you actually want them to. And so the two things are, be more assertive and don't send the wrong message to motorists that they can squeeze past you in a narrow lane. And second, communicate with people and let them know what you want to do.
Dealing with traffic was kind of like questionable. I wasn't really trying to ride in traffic or with it, or even in the bike lane, like how to transfer from bike lane, the turn lanes and all that, because of how they're designed.
Because we have so many lakes in Orlando, we lack the connectivity of a street grid, so you can't just pick a quiet street and ride it all the way across town. You usually end up being dumped onto a busy road for at least a few blocks before you can get to another network of quiet streets. Another thing that has happened here in Orlando is that this city developed during the decades in which Americans had the most car-centric attitudes. And so we really developed a very car-centric city as we sprawled out into the countryside. And so as you leave the city of Orlando, sometimes your only route options are some just really busy, big roads. And so that's very challenging, and that's one of the reasons why we teach people how to use those roads when they need to use them.
Typical challenges would be traffic, knowing how to navigate the roads and do it safely and with civility for both motorists and cyclists.
One of the most challenging spots is the Ivanhoe interchange. When you are heading from downtown Orlando toward College Park, the way that is designed, it looks like an interstate on-ramp, and so even though the speed limit is only 25 miles an hour, the motorists have a strange expectation that they're getting on the highway. And so, but bicyclists need to go through there too, because that's actually a surface street connection that goes into College Park. And that will be redesigned when the ultimate I-4 is done, and so that's not going to be a long-term problem, but it is a problem right now. The most important thing when you're planning a bike route is to actually look through the Google Maps, look through the satellite, and think about if you're planning to go across town, you're probably not going to get all the way across town using only quiet streets, although most of us would prefer to do that. And so you may end up having to cross a busy intersection or an interchange like the Ivanhoe interchange. The most important thing is to actually look at the satellite and think ahead of time how you're going to do it. You know, what's my strategy for handling this? Because when you go into it already kind of primed, you're going to handle it a lot better than if you get there and suddenly you have a surprise.